Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So as you could tell by today's title, we will be talking about a very active pattern that could be bringing several large winter storms, and along with that there could be some obviously very heavy snow. Now I do want to say clear up kind of a few things. The thumbnail that I use for today's video, it shows a rather snowy map for a good portion of the United States. And all I want to say is that that's not clickbait. Because it's a potential, and the models, that's just one ensemble. I'm not saying it will happen, but it's just a one kind of scenario that may occur, and it's definitely a snowier one. But I just kind of, I don't know. I think I think it's honestly fun to go over these more on kind of uncertain scenarios, these more unlikely ones. So yes, it's not just to get your attention, because it's honestly a real possibility. I'll show you many models. They all show different types of things, different storms, different events in different parts of the country. And so yes, I'm not going to be talking about one particular storm. This again is kind of could affect anyone, and at this point it's kind of a discussion video, right? So if you like that type of stuff, if you like this weather content, if you've seen my other videos and you enjoy it, obviously consider subscribing. Don't do it yet if this is your first video, right? You can check out the channel first, see if you do enjoy it. Same with liking the video. That does help out a lot if you do enjoy it. And if you have any comments or concerns, please tell me down below, and I answer usually almost all. I try to answer them, because I want to create like a sense of a community, and not just leaving your guys' comments unanswered, which a lot of people do. And I think, answering comments, it's not that much work. I like it, and I think it's awesome when a creator can respond, or, when I can respond to your views or comments. All right, enough talk. Let's start talking about this potential. I do want to say right off the bat that if you recall yesterday's video, I was talking about a storm system potential, but I included a large question mark in the thumbnail, and I said that it was maybe brewing because it was still uncertain. And I'm gonna say right now that the Clipper system across the Midwest, the Great Lakes, it's still going to be there. There have been some changes. I'll show you that. There also will be some snow for the Northeast, and this system will strengthen. However, what I mean by Northeast is really just Maine and New Hampshire and portions of southern Canada. And honestly, what I'm seeing today in the models, the long range, is a bit more exciting. So I want to focus on that, especially since that storm system isn't going to be that big. It will bring some precip, but yeah, I guess I just like to focus on the more exciting things, which, I mean, I can't focus on everything, so if I can focus on only certain things, I'll choose the more exciting ones. Obviously, if it's extremely dangerous, I'll focus on that particular event, but in this case, nothing, immediately is in danger of a big storm or whatnot. So let's start discussing this. I do apologize about this relatively long intro, but I feel like, if I explain myself and I explain where I'm coming from, there could be a lot more kind of understanding and less, I guess, less confusion and whatnot can come from miscommunication. So right off the bat, notice this is our timeline, right? So this is November 14th. Again, it's 48 hours out. Let me just go hour by hour. This is one model. It's called the GFS. There are many models, literally probably close to 100 more models, and this is one of the main ones that's used because it's extremely good. It's very reputable, it's accurate, and if you're part of the weather community, that's pretty basic information. But I do know that I have viewers that don't, aren't on weather models all the time. And notice that, look at that right there. There's a little clipper system. Or not really clipper, because it doesn't really come from the north. It kind of developed from the remaining blizzard, if you will, the storm I was talking about earlier this week. And that will be bringing some showers across the Northeast on Saturday. So again, this is Saturday, 12 p.m. You can see there will be some snow for maybe places like Albany, Vermont, higher elevated areas. It doesn't strengthen into a big storm, at least not in our viewing area. Some snow does fall into Maine. Now look at Minnesota, North Dakota. Yes, you will be seeing snow. That's still a very good probability at this point. And notice that this is into late Saturday and early Sunday. This is 6 p.m. By 12 a.m., that's what it's looking like. Still snowing across Minneapolis, or potentially Duluth. What I would say is, in the last 24 hours since yesterday's video, this little clipper has gone up towards the north in terms of its positioning. So more of Michigan, more of Wisconsin may see some snow. Cities like Indianapolis, Chicago, may still see some snow, just not a lot of it, and also maybe a bit more rain. rain. Notice it does get very well organized once it moves into Ohio and Michigan, which is again rather interesting how it kind of just it's a bit later to development with the latest model runs. And look at that, as it races across, it does bring some rain across Ohio. So again, not everyone will be seeing snow with this. And notice how patchy it is, right? This is a really hard system to predict. If I have a question from, say, Cleveland or Detroit asking me rain or snow, I would say that the more dominant precip type, and at this point, this is late Sunday, around 6 p.m., I would say is snow. However, this is such a borderline event that where you see the heavy bands of precipitation, where it will fall as snow. Where you see kind of lighter precips, you start seeing some lack of ice nucleation. That's usually what happens, and it can kind of convert into more of a drizzle. That sometimes happens if you've ever realized that in a large event where it's borderline 32 degrees, you often when you see a sudden downpour of precip, you can that precipitation brings in some of that cooler air with it, which allows snow to fall. But if it's more lighter, the cold air doesn't really come down with those flakes or whatnot, and it's more of a sleet or maybe just straight up rain, right? And again, it's usually when the precipitation starts lighting or kind of letting up. And notice it does get towards the northeast. There will be snow across New York. I think the lake warming is maybe a bit overdone, but again, the lakes are very warm even for this time of the year, and they usually are warmer, than surrounding areas on a normal year, but this year they are warmer than usual, and that could help with lake effect, but not with a system like this if you have winds blowing off of it. So northerly winds onto Cleveland, Erie, that may eat up some of your snowfall totals, if not a majority of them. And notice that this system does send itself way into the northeast. It does bring some snow across Maine and into portions of southeastern Canada, and it does become very powerful, but again, by then it is pretty much out of our viewing area, and it does create some wind. That's about it. Now, again, this video is about different, kind of, a overall significant weather pattern that is active, and I guess this system is part of the pattern. So we began with this little guy, and then here is where details start getting fuzzy because we're further out. We don't know what will occur. What we do know is that there's going to be a large area of precipitation moving in onto the southwestern coast of Canada or the northwestern United States, depending on which kind of perspective you put it from, on Monday. So yes, this is not very far out, in just a few days, 3 days, right? And look, this thing stays pretty far to the north, and we see a large warm-up. We're starting across the western United States, but it does spread east. So if you do have snow on the ground right now across the plains, you will see some cold air into this weekend. You will eventually see a warm-up. You may end up seeing 50s, 60s as you're kind of into Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Ohio. It's going to be a nice, pleasant warm-up, and honestly, I wouldn't mind it because, well, I don't know. There isn't really any snow to be losing, right? And I only hate when it's warm and I could be seeing snow. But otherwise, 50s, 40s, kind of when they still can occur in November, I'll take that. And I know a lot of you folks will as well. Obviously, the snow lovers, the extreme snow lovers, would prefer a snowstorm, and honestly, I would too. But you could see this system goes very far towards the north. It stays in Canada, while it does drop a lot of snow for my Canadian viewers across Winnipeg, southeastern Ontario. I don't know why I said Winnipeg in particular. I meant to say Manitoba, Saskatchewan, but of course Winnipeg being part of Manitoba. As we push this forward, notice that there is a bit of rain on the bottom side of it, if you will, the lower side of it, and it's very far towards the north, indicating how warm it will be. Let me just show you the temperatures, right? Because I think this is important. Sometimes people say I don't talk much about the temperatures, and usually I don't really have time to, I guess, because I go over the precip. But if I do my best, and especially if there's a dangerous cold outbreak, I will talk about that. But we don't have, we're quite at that level of winter quite yet. So notice it will be chilly, especially across the northeast through Tuesday. But find your location and choose this, and choose your spot. So if you live in Chicago, you could expect almost 50 degrees on Tuesday. Pennsylvania, it's a bit chillier, right? Ohio, 40s, 50s. Missouri, you will be almost seeing 70s. Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, if you live across the south, you guys will be very warm. Say Wyoming, Montana, you also will be warm. So, and don't worry if you do want the warm temperature across the more northerly locations. All you have to do is wait till Wednesday. Look what happens across Wednesday, or on Wednesday, as I push this forward into time. So look at all those temperatures. They're warming up. Obviously, they're shifting away from, say, the northern plains, but they're moving more into portions of the mid-Atlantic, the northeast, the south. And yes, I think that this is going to be a perfect occasion for anyone that kind of wants to do last minute garden work, yard work before the winter sets in. You got a little bit taste of that across the Great Lakes and Northeast and Midwest this past weekend. So I think this week will be a perfect opportunity to do that. Look at all these warm temperatures again. They are brief, and we do see, I'm just going to show you the temperatures now into the future since I'm already on this. As I show this to you, you can see the Northeast even gets in on that, the coastal cities, but then we see cold air, and it's rather chilly even for November standards. And look, where we see single digits across the northern plains. We see very, very cold air, even as far south as, look at Oklahoma, Texas. Very, very, very chilly temperatures. There may be some brief warm air resurgences, but again, not at least in the short term. So let me take a look at these snowstorms now, right? So I showed you the Clipper systems, the little kind of smaller ones, but now I want to focus more on these bigger ones. And you can see there's that activity, and then look, there's that first system that moves in onto southern Canada. It's a rather big one, and it's really going to be occurring into Monday and Tuesday. So the kind of the not that far out. I mean, just three days away, and it doesn't really affect the United States with a lot of snow, but it does affect portions of the Northwest with some mountain snow and a lot of southern Canada. You could see places like Winnipeg, Thunder Bay, provinces of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, cities like Saskatoon. We'll be seeing some, definitely some. Sorry about that. Decent snowfall across those areas, and this system is pretty strong. I mean, it's dropping a lot of snow for those areas. It's pretty quick moving, and slower moving, and it does develop a cold front, but again, really just more of a rain event. What that system does, however, it's important because yes, it's a storm, so it kind of goes into that active pattern kind of theme that I'm talking about, but it shoves a lot of cold air into the United States. And this is why this is important, because look, not even a day after, we already have another system kind of pegging at that system's heels. We're kind of nicking at their heels, and we do see some light snow kind of developing across the Midwest. Nothing really, I guess, snowstorm-ish out of that alone. But look what it does as it approaches the Northeast. It gathers a lot of energy from the ocean and explodes into a massive storm. A lot of snow for southern Canada, the cities like Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, Quebec, a lot of snow out of that, with this particular scenario. Again, will this occur? I'm sorry, but it's just too far out to give me, or to give you that confidence with this particular scenario. So with this particular scenario, there would be a lot of snow for southern Canada and a lot of rain for the Northeast. But, there are some models, like I'll show you in just a second, the Canadian, that show a more coastal system, and I think it will be pretty taken away at what that one shows. And I'll show you that in just a second. And while we have this beast raging here, look what happens across the Northwest. We have another monster kind of moving in, and that one does play into developing yet another storm. Look at Monday. So this is now 2 weeks away. Yes, it's very far out, but again, it's just more showing a long-range active pattern. But with this particular scenario of the GFS model run, look at what it shows. A massive storm developing and a lot of snow even for areas towards the south. Missouri, Illinois, northern Arkansas. And yes, for Chicago, this would be a blockbuster. This would drop over probably a foot, maybe even a foot and a half of snow. But again, it's far out. It's too far out, and we just can't really, again, focus on a system that is so far out. And notice it does bring some rain into the Northeast, actually quite a bit of snow as well, especially with that. You could see rain intensification, so that would be a very significant system, and an active pattern would probably continue after that as well. Maybe a bit of a rump according to this one, but again, so obviously with a model like the GFS, the snowfall totals would be rather impressive if these snowfall systems were to occur. Look at some of these amounts right there when that Midwest system occurs, or both of those nor'easter kind of storms occur for those large Canadian cities. I mean, that is a heck of a lot of snow, folks. And of course, that first one during the week, that could drop alone in the next few days, quite a bit of snow. Now, again, this is just one model. And just like with news sources, you have to look at many. And with news, it's unfortunately that you have to look at many because it's the news. They're supposed to provide facts, right? In case of weather models, you have to look at many models. Not unfortunately, you do. You have to, because they're all guesses. They're not really all accurate. So it's the wise thing to do. So let me show you a few more models. And this one, again, is being the Canadian that we're starting off with here. And there's our little clipper system. You can see pretty intense as it brings it into the Great Lakes, the Midwest, and into the Ohio Valley. Then up along into portions of the Northeast, it does strengthen. Not into a blockbuster as much as what the GFS shows, but definitely still there, which is again why I'm kind of not really talking about it as I did yesterday, because yesterday it still had a bigger potential. Today it does not. And again, I'll be honest with you, when I made kind of a mistake or it, the threat's gone down, I'm not just gonna milk it for views or anything. It's not really a threat as much. And yesterday it still had that potential. So notice that today across, or my Monday across the Northwest, we do have that same storm that the GFS showed. Remember? Yeah, look, there it is. The Canadian shows it as well. A bit further towards the south, you can see maybe the Duluth area, Arrowhead, International Falls picking up a bit more of snow versus the GFS that had it about like 100 miles, or maybe even less to the north. And it's still mainly a rain scenario, though, for much of the United States. There are some models, though, that do show a bit more snow into Wisconsin and show an even more southern scenario. So we have to watch this system alone, let alone some of the bigger ones, which I showed you with the GFS that are a bit further out. And the Canadian shows that as well. Look, it shows the system while this beast is occurring into Thursday. A lot of precip moving it on to the central western United States. That does slide down towards the south. Watch this. It's just going to translate its energy towards the south. Right there, you can see. And then this is where we see an explosion, a frontogenesis kind of development of a cyclone, the fancy word for that, if you will. And look at that. We see some light snow across the south. And the Canadian develops this into an absolute monster. Yes, it's very far out, but it's a scenario. If you recall, the GFS developed a very similar storm, but it was further inland. I mean, it was massive, yes, just like the Canadian, but the Canadian is way off land, or sorry, way closer towards the ocean, where it's in the middle of the ocean, and it barely affects the United States and Canada. But again, if this were to shift towards the north, this would be a beast. If it shifts even further towards the north, it will be more of a rain system for the northeast. And if it shifts further away towards the west, or sorry, the east, then it's completely a miss. So, there's a lot of concerns with the forecast like this, and you could see that this thing is an absolute windstorm. It's a beast, and we do have more activity, probably another shot of cold air following that. Obviously, the snowfall from this one is more impressive across Canada, but where that nor'easter would occur, you can imagine there would be a heck of a lot of snow if that were to occur. Will it? It's hard to say. It's just one particular scenario, just like the GFS's kind of scenario was at that given time. Let's take a look at the European, another model that I really, really enjoy. I think it's a very good model. And let's take a look at its surface precipitation. And again, it shows an active pattern. We have those little set of series of clippers and mini kind of intensification, short waves across the northeast into this weekend. And we do also have moisture moving on to the northwest that does intensify into that same storm. The GFS and Canadian shows. You could see the European actually probably creates the strongest one out of all the models. It has very defined kind of a wraparound, probably some isolated blizzard conditions as well. But again, not much for the United States. Some wraparound snow showers for the northern tier, very kind of the northern tip of the United States. And it does drop pretty good cold front, but really the more important thing that it does is it brings in a lot of cold air, as I mentioned there, and that would set the stage for a potential snowstorm with which the European does develop an activity kind of around the same time frame that the GFS and Canadian show that nor'easter, and it's definitely more kind of eastern, I guess, oriented, but it's just it's a lot less organized. But you could see it in this last little frame, it does this push towards the north. So we'll have to see whether or not it rides the trough of this kind of the eastern flank of this trough and it develops into a nor'easter or not, but we can't go out further than 240 here. But definitely it shows a potential for an active pattern. And since this European only goes out to 240, kind of the operational Euro, I can show you these ensembles that I have. They go out to 384, and they're in a family of the same guy right here. And ensembles are pretty much less important models that are part of a bigger family, and they argue a lot. So kind of like a family in real life, right? Perhaps. And basically, they try to argue about a given thing, which in this case is that snowfall. And looking at a lot of them, if they all agree on something, that there is definitely a lot of confidence in that. If it's kind of like, if you have 100 people and they usually disagree and they suddenly agree on something, well, that's kind of a green flag or red flag or whatever, whichever way you want to put it. or if it's a warning or a good sign, depending on your perspective. In this case, we have 51 ensembles. So let me show you their 15-day snowfall. And again, this is, all of them show something else, but there are a few things they agree on. So can you spot the thing that they agree on? Look at all these different scenarios, or all these different outcomes. Well, they all pretty much show a lot of snow for some given place in the United States. I would say the most area that they show more consistently seeing heavy snow is southern Canada. I mean, these areas could be picking up 20 to 40 inches of snow, and again, with some of them towards just ridiculous ends. Some models bring in snow much further towards the south. Look at this scenario into Iowa, maybe Illinois. Or again, right, there's many different ensembles showing different things, so it's less certain what will result of this, but this is why I'm titling the video just a active pattern is coming, because I'm rather confident in that. Just looking at all these ensembles, I don't think there's a single one, or that, look at that one, that doesn't show a active pattern. This one shows snow all the way into Texas. This one more towards the north, again, maybe a bit less active, but I mean, this is gosh darn active for the southern Canada area, pretty much with every single model. Look at this one, how far snow it brings. Very, very far to the south. Not heavy snow, but it's snow, so that means that'd have to be some very cold air to bring that. Again, I mean, just endless scenarios. Look at this one, bringing very heavy snow for the northeast. Some, drier for the west and northwest. Some show a bit more. It's definitely a lot of scenarios, guys, and we'll just have to wait and see which one actually is correct, which one isn't. And at this point, probably not a single one is exactly precise as to what will what will happen. But you could get an idea that, well, probably an active pattern is coming if there are such crazy amounts of snow in just 15 days, which really isn't that far of a period. It's not 30 days. It's not a month. It's really just half a month. So it's look at this scenario. Look at that. That's very impressive. So yeah, that's basically all I wanted to show you. Just kind of talk about this threat, talk about this event, or this upcoming potential, right? I'll keep you updated. Obviously, if there's a certain storm that the models start agreeing on, I'll start changing the titles into, an upcoming system is coming, a larger storm, and that will probably be this one right here. Whether or not it's a strong one, like the GFS and Canadian show, maybe it's just like what the European kind of is hinting at, the weaker storm. We'll have to see, but that's the first kind of big one that could be affecting many cities and places. But we already have one at the beginning of this week that's going to be occurring right here. It's going to bring some rain and decent snow for a good portion of Canada, where I do have some Canadian viewers. So that is already an active pattern brewing. So, yep. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you all on the next episode. See ya. Bye.